Hey guys, today on JD Cars, we'll be installing a Rough Country 50-inch straight single row Black Series Cree LED light bar with cool white daytime running lights. So today we'll be installing this light bar on this 2014 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sport. However, this light bar is compatible with all Jeep JKs and JKUs from 2007 to 2018. So without any further ado, let's get this puppy in the garage and let's get working. So before we get started with installing the light bar, I do want to take a second to talk about the switch panel to which we'll be hooking up the light bar. So in case you didn't see the last Jeep episode, we installed this Voss switch overhead 8-switch panel here. The install came out very clean. It's a flawless setup. I'm a huge fan of it and I'm really excited to hook up our first LED bar to it. It has a touch capacitive button on the left here and 8 toggle switches up top. And where this thing really shines is under the hood. So typically every time you install a light bar, you're gonna have to run cables to your battery and through your firewall and into the cab in order to control it via a toggle switch. However, this ingenious Voss switch setup here allows you to plug any external accessories right in here into one of the 8 ports, and you don't have to mess with wiring in fuses or any switches through the firewall and into the cab because we already have that control box hooked up there, which is why I installed this Voss switch prior to purchasing any light bars for the vehicle. So if you're looking to install a really solid piece of equipment to simplify your wiring setup for external LED lights, be sure to check out my Voss switch video if you haven't already. Now let's see what we receive in the box here with our LED from Rough Country. So it's well packaged, not only 2 but 3 layers of cardboard. It came in another box. Oh yeah. So as I said, this light bar is equipped with cool white LEDs. This is a brand new feature from Rough Country, and I believe that Rough Country is the first manufacturer to incorporate daytime running lights into a light bar, so I'm very excited to see that new feature. Let's get this out of the box and take a look at it. Right off the bat, we have some very detailed wiring instructions telling you exactly how to hook up your new LED bar. Also included is a very nice wiring harness here. We have 2 very heavy-duty 40-amp fuses, crimped and soldered battery terminals, a 3-way toggle switch, which will allow us to control the daytime running lights independently from the LED bar. And finally, we have a very heavy-duty connector here with not 1 but 2 watertight seals to ensure no moisture gets into the connection. We also do have 2 inline fuses to protect our onboard electronics, and the entire wiring harness is protected in very heavy-duty plastic sheathing. We've also got a smaller box here, not entirely sure what's inside of it. This is our mounting hardware and included Allen wrenches to get the job done. And finally, the LED bar itself, very well protected in styrofoam. Oh wow, this is beautiful. So as you can see, installed on the light bar in the packaging is a black cover with the Rough Country logo in the center. This can be installed for street use, essentially to show the authorities that you're not using this on the road because it is for off-road use only. Now removing this plastic cover reveals 48 5-watt high-intensity Cree LEDs and 24 cool white daytime running LEDs. All 72 of these LEDs crank out 19,200 lumens, and it's a 240 watt setup. The LEDs are positioned in a 30-degree spot beam array. The Black Series here has a very attractive black panel design with a durable die-cast aluminum housing, 8 50-inch aluminum heatsink fins on the back, and this entire light bar setup has an IP67 waterproof rating with moisture breather technology to reduce moisture buildup behind the lens. So overall, I am very excited to get this light bar installed. Let's take a look at the Rough Country windshield mounting brackets that we'll be using to install this. So in this box, we have the Rough Country Jeep 50-inch straight LED light bar upper windshield mounts, also compatible with all JKs 2007 through 2018. Let's take a look at what we got here. Oh, sweet. So we have our 2 mounting brackets here. Each has a beautiful and durable black powder coat finish. All holes are pre-drilled and it looks like they're laser cut because they're very cleanly cut. Overall, really solid and clean look. And in this bag here, we have 2 protective layers of rubber which will preserve the paint on the Jeep and protect it from any damage that could occur from these brackets. And of course, we're provided with all the necessary mounting hardware to get this job done. So enough about this, let's jump into the install. So we'll begin by removing the factory hardware here. As you can see, I do have the rough country relocation bracket for my mirrors so that I can run my factory mirrors without my doors on. Now that does present a little bit of an issue here because this screw is utilized for the windshield LED bracket, so I'm not entirely sure if this is going to work out, but I am going to try to overlap the windshield bracket over this thin bracket right here. It should work out alright, but we'll see. So we'll be removing these fasteners with a T40 Torx bit. So just after holding this up here and looking at it, it's not going to line up. The holes here will not line up because of the extra distance added here. So I am gonna have to remove my mirrors and figure out a new solution for that, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. So with my mirror out of the way here, we can now install the new windshield bracket using 5 of these button head bolts and a 6mm hex bit. I like to get all my fasteners threaded in by hand to avoid cross threading, and then come in with my impact to tighten them down. Alright, so the driver's side is mounted up, real solid, not going anywhere, so I'm going to go repeat the same process over on the passenger side. Sorry to backtrack here, but I've just pulled off the driver's side because I just remembered now's the time to route our cable before we slap on this bracket, which can help hide the cable actually. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. I'm going to remove these 2 T30 Torx screws. And I believe we can route our wire right through this gap here, down under the hood to our VOS switch panel right here, just to keep this as clean as possible. So I have the light bar just chilling on the hood there, resting on some microfibers as to not damage anything. And I have the wire fed right through that gap there, and it goes under that panel and pops out right here under the hood. This should work out well. I'm gonna leave these 2 screws out just so we have the adjustability of being able to feed more or less wire out to the light bar here. Probably now gonna bring the light bar up onto the roll bars here, and I can now work on reinstalling that bracket and getting the wire fed behind it to hide as much of it as we can. And there we are. We have the wire tucked into the bracket right here, sandwiched in there pretty well, and it runs behind the bracket up to the light bar, which I just have resting on the roof. About as neat as it's gonna get, and honestly I'm pretty happy with that. So we can now proceed to mounting the light bar on our mounts here. We're gonna need a 6mm hex bit to do so, and I just realized when I went to get the bit for this that I misspoke. For these fasteners, it's a 5mm hex bit. The instructions said 6mm, but they are in fact 5mm. We'll now be using a 6mm hex bit to install this provided hardware, a screw, lock washer, and flat washer. Slide it through the mount here and into the end of the light bar, hand thread it in, and then tighten it down. Be sure to hand thread this in to avoid cross threading, and you really don't need to torque down your light bar at this point because we are still going to need to adjust it at night to angle it properly. So I've got the light bar fully mounted up here. It's looking sweet. It's gonna look a lot better when it's powered though. So let's get going on the wiring. So this wiring harness that we received from Rough Country has a few components to it. Obviously we have our power leads that go to the battery. We have inline fuses for the positive leads to protect the electronics, along with 2 40-amp relays. We have the connector to go to the light bar and the 3-way toggle switch, of course. Now, because I installed that VOS switch panel, I actually already have 40-amp relays and 30-amp fuses in the car. I'll open up the VOS switch source box here to show you. As you can see, I have 8 40 amp relays and 8 30 amp fuses in the center here. So because those are the same exact specifications as the Rough Country wiring harness, I am going to be snipping the wiring harness and hooking it up in a much more simplified way here. I'll basically just be snipping off the connector itself for the light bar. I won't be needing any of this. However, for those of you who are not opting to install a VOS switch panel, let me explain the basic setup here for you. So first and foremost, you can disconnect the bulky 3-way switch from the wire here to make feeding it through the firewall a lot easier. You'll then want to feed it through the firewall through this rubber grommet located right here. You can stick a wire snake through there and it will pop out right by your left foot in the driver's side here, and you can use that to pull the wire through. Then you'll want to securely mount your relay somewhere. Really anywhere is fine as long as they're safe and secure. You'll hook up this connector to the light bar as I will be doing. And lastly, after getting everything all set, you'll hook up your positive cable to your positive battery terminal and your negative cable to your negative battery terminal. So if you're using the light bar with the switch panel as I am, you're gonna wanna chop off the light bar connector here. We'll leave ourselves a decent amount of slack. And as scary as this is, we're just gonna chop it right here. Push aside all of this stuff. I'm gonna pull back the sheathing to reveal our 3 cables. And essentially we have a ground, power wire for the LED bar, and the power wire for the cool white daytime running lights. So to independently control our LED lights and our daytime running lights, we'll need to split the ground so that both the LED bar and the daytime running lights have their own ground. Now, if you want to operate them both on the same switch, then you don't have to do so, but that's what I'll be choosing to do today. So I'm gonna grab myself about 8 inches of wire, another 8 inches, make sure it's the same length here, and now we'll snip off the same amount of wire from the existing ground wire, strip it back, strip these 2 wires that I just cut. Now I'll be combining these 2 wires to split our ground, and I'll use a butt connector here to connect our existing ground wire from the wiring connector to our split cables, twist it together, and we'll crimp it down. Now this is all set. We have 2 independent grounds for each of our LEDs. So now I need to strip back each of these 4 wires and install these little terminal crimps that are actually included with the VOS switch. And these will slide right into the VOS switch and it'll make connecting them a breeze. All right, we're all set. Let's plug these connectors into our VOS switch panel. Just gonna connect our LED bar connector right here. Simply plug it in and screw on the watertight collar. Now use a Phillips head here to loosen up the 2 terminals I'll be connecting to. They are all labeled 1 through 8. 1 and 2 are down here. So we're gonna loosen up these 4 Phillips heads. So I'm just gonna slip these connectors through the watertight boot. And as you can see, this is labeled switch 1, this is labeled switch 2, and negative and positive are both labeled. I'll be wiring in the white wire, the DRL wire, to switch 1, and I'll be wiring the main LED light wire to switch 2. As you can see, you just slip it right on through the boot and into the terminal like so. Then you tighten down that Phillips head. So with all 4 of these connected in here, we should be good to go. Just gonna neaten up this extra cable with some zip ties, close up the source box here, lower the hood down, and we'll check out the new light bar. All right guys, it's all buttoned up. This thing's looking mean. Let's flip the switch and see if it works. So remember how I told you I put the DRLs on switch 1 and the LED bar on switch 2. I do plan to install a number of these Rough Country DRL equipped light bars, so I plan to operate all of my DRLs off of this one switch and then the actual powerful LED lights from each independent switch. Let me turn off my camera light here. We'll turn on the switch panel. Now we should turn on the DRLs here. Let's check it out. Oh yeah. So those are the cool white DRLs. They look pretty sweet. They're obviously not blinding, even looking at them head on. They really don't project much light on the wall at all here because they're just daytime running lights. They're not meant to be blinding. I probably am gonna run these on the road, and if a cop pulls me over, I'm just gonna tell them they're daytime running lights. They're really not bright. So now for the bright LEDs, Let's turn on the main bar here and see what happens. All right, roof LED bar, here we go. Oh boy, yeah. Those I won't be running on the road. Oh my gosh, blinding. Oh, those are literally blinding. Wow, those are bright. For just a single row of LEDs, this is incredibly bright. Just look at the light on my hand here. Crazy, crazy bright. So I put the camera on the tripod here and I'll give you a quick comparison of the DRL versus the main LED lights. So here are the DRLs. Nice cool white daytime running lights. And now for the blinding LEDs, here we go. Yeah, oh my gosh. It's amazing how bright these are. And again, here are the DRLs and everything off. So flipping on my main LED bar here, it does appear I got my angle pretty much right. I am gonna wait till nighttime and loosen up those 6mm bolts, and I'll fine tune the angle at which the bar is positioned. It looks like it might be a little bit high. We'll angle it down a little bit tonight and get it fine tuned in. But let's pull this thing outside and get some nice rolling shots of what it looks like in the daytime before it gets too dark.
See you on the other side. Stay alive. Stay alive. I got to keep it together. Keep it together.
Well guys, I am super stoked with this Rough Country 50-inch LED light bar with cool white daytime running lights. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little concerned getting a single row, but man, this thing is more than bright enough. It's obviously still daytime right now, and you can still see the light from this light bar shining on the lawn. It's pretty crazy. They really weren't kidding when they said this thing throws out over 19,000 lumens. I'll show you again the daytime running lights, switch off the main LEDs. So these are the daytime running lights. I'll try to show you exactly what's going on here. So as you can see, in between the main LEDs themselves here are these smaller cool white LEDs, and they're in between every other pair. So that spacing combined with the black housing allows this to not be blinding to oncoming traffic. I do plan to run this during the day simply because it looks really cool. And this definitely makes the Jeep that much meaner. So that's gonna wrap up this video on the Rough Country 50-inch single row Black Series light bar with cool white daytime running lights. I'd like to pay a huge thank you to Tyler from Rough Country for making this video possible. Rough Country has one of the best selections of aftermarket parts for your Jeep. Rough Country is known for their lift systems, but they have everything from front bumpers, fender flares, to blinding LED lights like this one. They also have some pretty cool apparel too. So be sure to check out the links in the description below to the Rough Country site and this 50-inch LED bar. Please smash that like button, it really helps me out with these projects. Share this video with a fellow Jeeper if you feel so inclined, and please be sure to subscribe for more Jeep content if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you next time on JD Cars.